I am so excited today. The guest that we have for our interview today is somebody that's been a massive amount of inspiration for me. Despite achieving huge amounts of success in business and property, he is still so humble. People will often look up to me as a role model in property. I'm just so blown away by that. But people like our guest speaker is who I look up to as my role model. If you're watching my videos for the first time, my name is Saj Hussain, and on this channel I share with you my 15 plus years of property investing experience to ultimately help you get further faster in your own property investing business. Today we're in Birmingham city centre at the headquarters, in fact in the boardroom of a company called Wolfe. Now if you're interested in West Midlands property, that's a name you most definitely will have come across. They've got many different brands including Wolfe Auctions. But what you may not know very much about is the person behind Wolfe and the founder, Paul Bassi CBE. Paul leads a property and business portfolio worth £300 million. They also, in one of their previous businesses, used to manage for clients more than £5 billion of property. They sold that business in 2015 and they currently have an annual turnover in excess of £200 million. Paul, success can be measured in many different ways and it means different things to different people. But if we're to measure success in terms of business and property, you've clearly achieved huge amounts of success. And sometimes people see the results of where you are, what you've achieved, but not necessarily what it's taken to get there.
I think I'm going to depress everybody initially by telling them that actually there's no such thing as success. It's very relative in any case, because when you won your first Oscar, you want your second. When you won your second, you want your third. Knowing as time goes on that every time you get a new accolade or you achieve what you think is success, that the next one you get is going to leave you unfulfilled as well. So there's a saying that I kind of live by, and that is that no man is a success unto himself. So I think success kind of doesn't exist.
Yes.
I get having milestones, I get having goals, and I get people view things as successful, and it gives people inspiration. There are people I look upon who are successful and they inspire me. But the truth is that they're all just stepping stones. And in terms of what makes success, there's no secret, there's no great formula. We have an approach. It's hard work, it's having a big picture, it's being genuine, it's being honest, it's believing in yourself, it's surrounding yourself with great people, it's sharing the cake. So there's no secret. Overnight success is about 15 years, and then you build on that, and it does get easier. It becomes easier to play the game because you're more experienced at it. So I don't want to make people feel down. But always remember, everything's just a stepping stone until you want to go for the next thing.
Yeah, something about 10 years, 12 years ago probably I came across, I hear somebody say, is it's success is the journey rather than the destination.
Yeah.
And too often we're focused on where we're trying to get to as opposed to how we get in there in each and every moment.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of these Americanisms about, yes. But we all have our own journey.
Yes.
And success to one man is not success to the next man or woman. So I think you have to be true to yourself. Success is not just about how much money you make, it's about your work-life balance, it's about your health, it's about what you do for your community. To me, success ultimately is being happy. If you can find commercial success, good, of course, money makes the world go round. But everyone aspires to be successful, but it's not an end game, as you say. They're all stepping stones to go forward and keep growing.
You touched on something which I think is absolutely important amongst many things. It's about the hard work ethic. And I think, for Asian background, we see our parents or grandparents work very, very hard when they've come into this country as immigrants. Do you think the current generation, or today's generation, maybe more focus on immediate gratification? We live in that world where everything just has to happen immediately rather than putting the effort in.
Yeah, I guess us middle-aged men look at everyone and think the next generation isn't what they used to be when we were around. First of all, that generation of my parents, your parents, I mean, I'm 60, so my parents are in their mid-80s now. When they came across, it was a very different picture. They couldn't speak the language. They landed full of hope and fear in equal proportion. If they were lucky, they had £2 in the bank. They're fighting at the gates of the foundry to be getting a job on the day. I guess what they did in relation to what we've had to do was, I don't know whether I could have done that. My father-in-law, who's was actually the first property agent in the Midlands, I didn't know he was going to be my father-in-law then, ran a business called Amber Estate. So, that generation had to work harder. They had to deal with glass ceilings, which I don't think we've got anymore. But speaking from my own perspective, my nephew and my son run our Wolfe business. They're in the office at 6:30, 7 in the morning. They'll leave at 1 o'clock in the morning if they had to. They'll work evenings. I'm not seeing a bad work ethic amongst the next generation of my family and friends. And I think parents can take some responsibility for making sure that their children have got a good work ethic. Of course, there's influencers and all of that, get rich quick, but that's existed always.
Yes.
It's always been out there, but we just know about it more, I think.
Some of the people that I've met, I'm fortunate enough to meet, that do exceptionally well in their career, their business, whatever they're choosing to do. There's always hard work is at the core of that. I've yet to meet somebody who's doing phenomenally well but doesn't do any hard work.
It doesn't exist, does it? I mean, it just doesn't exist. And actually, I enjoy working hard. If I got rewards for not working hard, I'd actually feel a bit guilty.
Yes.
So just, to make sure that everyone understands hard work is an essential ingredient, but it's one of many other ingredients.
So in terms of having targets and where we're heading to, how important do you think it is to have goals and objectives of where you're trying to get to, and also visualizing what that will be like in terms of the process and trying to get there?
So we have 3 principles within the culture of our business. The first one, you can call it the big goal, you can call it the big picture. So we had a big picture, I had a big picture many years ago, that I would want to have a multidisciplined investment family office. And I've been very fortunate enough to get that. So that was always my big picture. I didn't want to be focused on property, so we're in real estate, as you know, we're in distribution, we're in hospitality, we're in finance. We like being diversified. So that was always my big picture. Sat behind that was that I can't do it on my own. So I had to surround myself with not good people, but great people, people that would say no to me, that people would question me, would challenge me, would push me. And I've been fortunate to surround myself in the business and outside the business with those people. And I guess the one thing we do that's sometimes alien to other entrepreneurs, I'd share my cake. And by that, I don't mean bonuses and equity and what have you. We have a charitable trust. It's also giving money out. We live in a tough part of the UK here, so we regularly contribute towards various charitable causes. We'll sponsor various things. There's not always a commercial return in that. I just think it comes with the responsibility of being as blessed and as fortunate as we are.
Yes, and people absolutely key in terms of success, without a doubt. And someone watching this would think, how do they attract the best talent, a small business, and how do they actually keep that talent as well to be able to perform their best and want to stay and give their best, do you think?
We attract good talent because people like our big picture. They like our work ethic. They like our integrity. Our track record's good. If they go and get a reference on us, it'll be a good reference. So attracting good people is about being good yourself. It's about having integrity, having a work ethic, and like attracts like. It always has done. We don't have a problem attracting talent at all.
With the market the way it currently is, do you think people see a long picture? So for example, I'm thinking back, my father's generation, people talk about a job for life. Do you think these days people want to work with an organisation to stay for the long term, or do you think people still have the vision of to get on, they need to move around?
I think we're a very different universe from when you and I grew up. And jobs for life don't exist. People want to be very liquid. They want to be very global. You can sit at the other side of the world and do your job. I think the world has become a much smaller place. And I see that becoming more and more evident as we go along. So, yeah, I think that's quite exciting. If I was a youngster, I'm not going to be in one job. I know I can move. I know I can change career. So I think it's exciting, and it allows people to be, diversified, and people enjoy that diversity rather than being stuck to one sector the whole of your life. Well, the work-life balance is definitely getting better. I think the financial crisis made people question themselves. COVID has certainly helped people question it. So people's value and balance of life is definitely changing.
So in terms of somebody who may be watching who's getting started in property, thinking, well, maybe it was easy years ago. I was just thinking back when I was at university, it's probably 1989, 90. I was at Wolverhampton University, and we worked out how much rent we were paying our landlord, and we thought we should get into property. And property at the time was about £20,000. We never did. We never made that jump. And looking at what those prices are today, do you think it is still possible to get started and start now, or do you think those opportunities are not the same or don't exist?
It's much easier today than it's ever been.
Yes.
You can borrow money because there's so much money around. The central banks and the governments have printed so much money. There's an abundance of liquidity out there. Opportunities through the internet, etc., are far easier. Interest rates are minuscule. I mean, you talked about the 1990s. Interest rates were 15% in the early 1990s. So if you said to me your environment has got liquidity, masses of available cash, very cheap money, I really don't understand what's so difficult about that. It's far easier today, and people just need to have a belief in and confidence in themselves.
Yes, the opportunities are always there. They'll just evolve over the years. And when there is so much liquidity available, there's such an appetite, such a demand, and we've been seeing property prices go through the roof recently. How do you think that will pan out? What do you think will happen over the coming years? Or when there is so much liquidity in the market, there's such an appetite to buy property. We've seen prices be going through the roof recently. How do you think that's going to pan out? Do you think that's sustainable? What do you think will happen in the coming months and years?
But all things come to an end. Property fundamentally is about reading cycles. I don't think that the property fundamentals are poor at the moment. As I've just said, we've got lots of money, lots of cheap money. Demand is exceeding supply. People can't build houses quick enough. There are supply chain issues. So we're in a strong market, there's no doubt about that. But the market will turn. And a well-known phrase that I use quite a bit, when the market turns, when there is a crisis, you don't waste the crisis. That's when you make your money. So I think at the moment, I'd be confidently cautious. I think the market is fine. I'd watch my borrowing. I'd look very carefully at all my covenants, because nobody looks at those till things go wrong. I'd look at them at the front end. And again, surround yourself with good people. I don't think the residential market's going to go too far wrong unless something materially takes place that changes all of that. We are heading for a downturn. We have got inflation issues, but actually a lot of this is property friendly. Arguably we could be in deflation quite quickly in 12, 18 months time. So I would have confidence, I'd be cautious, but I wouldn't dismiss real estate as an asset class.
Yes. And with all the changes that the government has been imposing on landlords in the last few years, just making it much more tougher to be a landlord in this market, do you think that will start deterring maybe some old school landlords to start maybe leaving the market? Now the time to throw the towel in? And
every industry, financial services, banking, health and safety, there's always new regulations coming in. And all that really does, it takes the weak out of the marketplace. So the weak landlord, the poor landlord, will likely disappear if they can't cope with the legislation. a good landlord will pick up market share. So we embrace change, we embrace regulations, because you know you're not going to have competition out there anymore. So I wouldn't let that worry me at all.
Yes, I think that's a key point in terms of embracing change. Often people are fearful of a change, but change presents new opportunities as well.
We love it. I mean, if there's going to be change, there's an opportunity in there somewhere. And you just got to be fleet-footed, and I keep saying, surround yourself with good people, get yourself a good mentor. If you haven't got a big team and you can't afford that, most good people will happily have a cup of coffee with somebody to help them out. So embrace change. If there is a cyclical change and we see kind of a heavy correction rather than a crash, I think likely there will be a gentle incremental correction. Be brave then. Then you've got to be brave, but again, be sensibly geared, do your homework. Real estate generally is a pretty safe business. The returns aren't phenomenal, they're respectable, and they've got longevity in them. So I wouldn't be afraid of change.
Learning about your story, you timed the market very well a couple of times, and you've exited out when you've seen things that are probably not going to work out, or the market's going to change. Do you think that was luck, foresight, market knowledge?
Yeah, I have to say that it's great to be lucky, and I think we have been very lucky. But behind that luck, as they say, the harder you work, the luckier you get. But we are fortunate to have a lot of market signals that are made available to us that help us see whether the markets are going to start to correct. We are seeing signals at the moment that show that the market's very strong, but there's still opportunity out there without a doubt. But we're not fazed by real estate. I think there's a good marketplace to sell into if you finish the asset management of your asset. There are other opportunities out there to buy. Shops and retail, I think, if you buy the right ones, will serve you very well. So there's change taking place, but there's plenty of opportunity in that, both as a buyer and a seller.
Yes. And so would you say it's more about time in the market rather than time to time the market?
Yeah, I mean, that's a well-known equities saying, as you know. I think real estate's more about adding value rather than, in a very toppy market, you can still find something and do something to the asset. Turn a 2-bedroom house into a 3-bedroom house, turn a row of shops into 4 smaller shops and increase the rent. So I think the real estate business, always ask yourself what you're adding. What's your value add? Relying upon yields and prices go up and down is out of your control. Make sure you can add value, and good and bad markets, you'll come out the other end.
Yeah, focus on the bits you can control rather than ones you can't.
Yeah.
And so with changes that have happened in planning and relaxation around, for example, commercial property being able to repurpose into other uses, how do you see that will pan out? I mean, COVID over the last couple of years has shown us that some of the high street is starting to change. What do you think will evolve? How will the market evolve there, and what impact do you think that will have?
I think prices will go up. They've had big price corrections. The people going in to invest and buy now are buying at the bottom end of the market. There's plenty of opportunity to add value and increase yields.
Yes. And in terms of your business, where you are now, there's a number of different sectors you're involved in, and businesses as well. Where would you like to see that business continue to go? Which directions?
Well, I give management a lot of freedom. Bridging finance, I think with EPC and ESG coming in, there'll be a lot of people who will stop lending. So for us, that's an opportunity. I think what the team's doing with auctions and agency here in the Midlands, using the internet, using online technology. I think technology and property sales are going to embrace each other.
Yes.
And the strong will get very strong. And we are already the largest live stream auction house in the UK, selling properties Glasgow, Exeter, Wales, as well as Birmingham and Manchester, etc. So we want to grow technologically, and we want to keep diversifying the various businesses that we've got.
Yes, I was amazed when lockdown started, how quickly you were able to just set up a live stream and still be selling huge number of lots at each auction when that happened. Very quickly you were up and ready.
It looked very quick from the outside. It looked very easy from the outside. I can tell you that the team were working 24/7 and making sure the most important thing to us is our customer. And if the customer is winning, we know that we'll be okay. They'll keep coming back. We've got a very loyal customer base, but you know, we get them fantastic results. We sell more than anybody else. I think we'll probably do close to £250 million of sales this year, and it takes days to get your money in an auction environment. And I think England is behind Australia, it's behind other countries. Auctions will become a much bigger platform for sales than it has traditionally been in the UK.
So with regard to sale of property, the estate agency world has also been evolving. Do you think the traditional model will change? More of it seems to be shifted towards individuals selling property, some of the American format, or do you think the model is so ingrained that it's not really going to evolve?
I think you have to understand that despite all the technology, this is a people business. So the likes of Purple Brick have tried to be a technological solution to real estate sales, and it's failing, you know, abysmally failing. I don't think that's a very good business model at all. So I think whatever happens, we need people, but people need to embrace and adapt technology. So I don't see this fundamentally changing. We'll be more dynamic, and you know, you don't just knock out a set of details on a paper. You have videos now, and we've got these things flying in the air, the drones, and whoever embraces all of that technology will grab market share, will become a leader. And actually, you know, we went out and bought our own media business. So we run a media business called BW Media. We do media for others, but actually we do it for us so that we're at the cutting edge, and that's made a huge difference. I mean, we can have 35, 40,000 people watching our auction at any one time. It's a big audience to sell your property to.
So Paul, if someone's watching this right now, they're thinking, I'd love to get started now, but they're a little bit unsure because there's just so much going on in the market. Where would you suggest people, where do you think the opportunities are? Where do you think people should be starting and focusing on?
A lot depends upon who you are and what your resources are at the beginning. So I'm generalizing here, but I would probably start on my doorstep. I would look around where I live, my town, my village, become friendly with the local agents, explain to them what your budget was, etc., etc. Do all the usual things, look online, etc., etc. But stay local. I'd stay in the first-time buyer space, and keep it very simple. Don't get any ideas of building a £5 million house for a footballer. Just stick to buying inner city or local community housing for first-time buyers. That's the place I would stay in.
That's very sensible advice, and it almost seems a little bit obvious that's where you should start, but maybe that's where most people struggle to find deals. So how do you think people should be approaching things, particularly in a very buoyant market like now, to get the opportunities? Often people are ringing up to, can I arrange a viewing? Well, we're not taking any more viewings, we've already had 50 offers.
Listen, when somebody says they can't find any deals, somebody else is doing 10 deals a week. Yeah. You've just got to be more creative, knock on more doors, be punchy with your sales pitch, convince people how quickly you can move, have all your financing in place, get a good lawyer in place. There's no excuse for not getting deals. Deals are out there, you've just got to work harder and look harder to find them.
And one of the important things, of course, is funding them, depending on how much you're starting with. And where do you think is the easiest way for people to be able to fund deals in terms of traditional financing, first of all?
I said earlier, there's more money around today. There's more challenger lenders, there's banks, there's building societies, there's bridging finance. There's no shortage of lenders. The important thing is, at the outset, have a very good lawyer who actually looks through the documents to make sure that, okay, things are great today and we can borrow X. what does it look like if things don't go well? What's my interest cover? What's my covenant? What's my loan to value? Are there any cross-company requirements there? So access to money should not be an issue. Take some advice from people who have done it. I think that's probably the biggest thing at the beginning. And believe in yourself, go and believe yourself. I guess everyone will say, well, that's great, I can borrow money, but I've got to come up with a deposit. Well, you can save your money, you can do it in partnership, you can find a great deal and go to somebody who's got equity. You can have someone who finances you, who believes in your ability to deliver on an asset. So I think debt and equity is readily available. Yeah. You've just got to find the right deal, and to find the right deal, you've got to look in all the right places, and they're there on your street, they're there on on your Rightmove or on any platform that's out there. Just look hard.
Yes, the deals are there. I mean, people are still doing business, as you're saying, and even in the auctions, as you can see lots of property going through. The deals are out there. So it's who's looking the hardest for those deals. And then with partnering with other people's money, which is essentially how I built my business, what would you say makes an interesting makes an investor investable for a potential investor? What traits do you think they're looking for if someone's going to partner fund somebody else's deal?
Yeah, I can only tell you what I look for. So I don't look for get rich quick tomorrow. I would look for longevity. I would look for a good margin. Buying something for £1 and selling it for £1.10 is not a good enough margin. So what I like is someone who's quite risk averse, who's got a hard work ethic. I quite often look behind them to think, what's the family culture? What sort of friends have they got? What circles are they in? And just polish yourself, present yourself well. Put a good pitch together, and we all watch Dragons Den. We can all identify a bad pitch and a good pitch, but a sensible business plan with plenty of margin, without overexposure to debt, because the bank will be your friend or your foe, and it's not the bank's fault. It will have laid the rules out at the beginning. It's for you to understand what those rules are.
Yes, yeah. I guess even the biggest property companies in the world, the Blackstones of the world, they're all relying on other people's money. It's just on a completely different scale. Those principles are the same.
I mean, the point really is there's so much money out there. There's never been more money out there than there is today. So you present a solid idea. There's money sitting in bank accounts, sitting in funds, sitting with private equity, high net worth individuals, family and friends. There's plenty of money out there. You've got to go and find the story. You've got to demonstrate you can add value. It's no good saying the market will go up, because the market might not. Assuming the market's going to stand still, assuming the market's going to go down, and have plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D. You'll be very readily investable if you can present all of that.
Yes, I think often people are very eager to get result quickly, and they'll overstretch or they'll force a deal to try and make their numbers work, and that can be a mistake doing it that way, because if you we were talking before, it takes a long time to build that reputation, that track record, and literally in minutes you can destroy it if you start to cut corners.
If you want to make quick money, don't come into the property business. Yeah. Go and do something else, and I don't know what that is. Yes. Some people do very well. Real estate is a slow burn. Yes. It's a slow burn, but it's a solid burn, and it will feed generations of your family if you do it properly. So we're a slow burn. I am second generation. My son and nephew are third generation. Quite likely their children will follow, because I take the view, I'm just a custodian of this. I'll live my life. I'm 60 years old, as I've said. I'd like to think that I've got another 30 years in me still, and we'll look after it and give it to the next generation in better shape than we got it. Yes.
And I guess tied in with that, hopefully you'll be blessed with a very long life, and we'll enjoy still hearing from you on your 100th birthday.
Yes.
And looking after health is important as well. Often business people are really obsessed about results and outcome and don't always look after themselves as well as they're trying to look after their businesses. And I know about 17 years ago you maybe had a little bit of an awakening there as well.
6 months ago I had a triple heart bypass. Really? Okay, so that really was a follow-on from abusing myself when I was younger. Now, I don't smoke, I don't drink, so it wasn't any substance abuse. I'm quite fit, I go to the gym, but the levels of stress I took on were wrong. I learned from that, so I make sure that my son, my nephew, the next management team we've got there, I push them to have a holiday, I push them to go to the gym, I encourage them to read books and all of that. So I got it horribly wrong, so I'm not a good example here. And maybe that level of obsession was required to make the progress we made, but on reflection, it's not worth it. So I would push everybody to, it's never enough. As I said, success, there's no such thing. You'll just keep bouncing forward. But look after your health, because without your health, you have nothing. And after that, it's all about spending time with family and friends. And I kind of put business in my sports box, whether I'm playing golf, tennis, going to the gym, buying a company, selling a company, buying real estate. It's all good fun, and I'm fortunate to be in that place. And I'd encourage people to view business a little more lightly than most people do.
Well, we know how important education is, and going through a process of educating ourselves to be able to get to where we want, and typically we tend to drive families through making sure we're improving by education. 3 of my adult kids, 2 of them been to university and the younger one didn't. He joined our business after going to college. But it doesn't mean we stop learning, we stop growing. We need to be constantly improving. I know you're an avid reader and learner, and somebody who's either starting in property or already been in property a little while, what 2 books would you recommend that they should be reading to be constantly improving and growing?
I quite often get asked, how did I go from being the son of an immigrant family to getting involved in public companies and all of that stuff? There's many reasons, but I would say one of the principal reasons is the amount of reading I did. And I started reading books like Think and Grow Rich. There's a series of books by Jim Collins called Good to Great, Built to Last, How the Mighty Fall. Those are great books to read. And depending upon what point of your career you're in, and I just read a book called Strength to Strength about the second half of your life, well, that's not going to be appropriate to others. There's a very good book on a bit of balance called Stillness. Always remember that there's a book about everything. Yes. There just is. I find reading the most therapeutical thing I can do. I'm nagging my son, I'm nagging my nephew, I'm nagging the team here to read. And I know they don't read as much as I want them to, with the exception of James Mattin, who reads even more than I do. He runs a commercial business. I think you'll develop considerably more through reading and acquiring knowledge than all the networking events you get. Cancel one networking event a week and stop and read, because you'll get more from that than you will from but do it all and enjoy it.
Yeah, it's an opportunity to learn from the best minds in the world. How else would we be able to access that information? Yeah. And through modern technologies, many other ways, such as listening to books as well now, and often I tend to be consuming books more by listening to them now than reading. And you'll listen to them at 1.5 or even 2 speed, because your ears just adjust, and you can consume books so quickly.
I read a lot of autobiographies. Now, I'm not going to meet Mr. Rockefeller because he's long gone. I'm not going to meet Napoleon Hill because he's long gone. I'm not going to meet Warren Buffett or Bill Gates, but I can read, and I watch a lot of YouTube videos on these guys. But just honestly, if I can give anybody any advice, and that is to seek more knowledge, because that'll strengthen you, it'll give you the confidence, it'll give you the knowledge to proceed and have the right balance, not just about making money, but having the right balance.
Yes. When I was at school, I used to have a little plaque on the wall from the Athena stores back in the day. It used to say, knowledge is power. But it took a little bit of time to realise it's the application of knowledge, not just learning, but actually making sure we're applying what we're learning as well.
And don't worry about making mistakes. They're not a mistake if you learn from them. I make plenty of them. I made one yesterday and I thought, I shouldn't do that again. But, you know, read a lot. The one thing I would say with being successful in property, if I go with your theme, you know, keep your feet on the ground, keep plenty of humility. You never know how things can go. Just stay humble, work hard, mix, learn, seek opportunities, watch videos, enjoy it, but keep a balance. Spend some time with your family and friends, look after your health. And, you know, a balance is really success. Not having lots of money in the bank or lots of buildings, that's not success.
On that note, Paul, I'd like to say thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to spend time with you.
Thank you.